Values. This presentation has been created for the Future Ready course, CTE 101. It is highly suggested that you take notes during this presentation. The learning target for values. Determine the relationship between values, wants, and needs. The success criteria to meet the learning target. Describe types of values. Evaluate personal values, and describe how values impact spending and saving. This will be done in a later assignment. You're probably wondering, what are values? Values are qualities, characteristics, or ideas about which we feel very strongly. Our values affect our decisions, goals, and behavior, and even what we spend money on. A value is a belief that someone or something is worthwhile. Values help guide your actions and judgments. Believe it or not, our values even affect the purchases that we make. What I value might not be the same thing that you value. What adults value, teens might not value. What teens value, adults might not value. So values can change through the course of your life. So where do you get your values? You get your values from a number of places. Your home, who you grew up with, your family. Society, depending on what country you live in or what culture you're in, your values might be different. The school you go to, public or private or religious. The friends that you have, the TV shows you watch, the internet, if you attend a church or a religious group, music you listen to, books you read, employers, and all of your values are happening during the years that you were raised. So by the time you're an adult, you probably have a pretty established set of values. Your age does have an impact on your values. When you're a small child in elementary school and below, your parents are the only place you're really getting your values from. These are the people that teach you your basic wants and needs as well. Between the ages of 8 to 13, which is when you're in school, the people you get your values from can also be your teachers or your heroes. So if you're really into sporting events or music, you might value the things that those people value as well. Between the ages of 14 to 20, which is where you are now, you're most likely getting your values from your friends. That's why it's really important to choose good friends. As an adult, your values are already established, but you might test your values and you might change them from time to time. Characteristics of values. What makes a value? A value is something that is personal. So what I may value, you may not, and that's okay. Your actions point to what you really value. So if you say you value something, but you're constantly doing the opposite of it, is that what you really value? Your values give you a perception of the world. Inconsistent behavior may indicate an absence of values. So if you're constantly going against what you say you value, you might not have values and you may need to reevaluate. Values change as experiences change. If you grew up in one part of the state, maybe it was more rural and you had a set of values, and then you came into the city, you might have a different set of values, and that's okay. Respect others' values. Just because they value something different doesn't mean it's wrong. It's perfectly okay. And our values give us our identity. It helps you determine who you are and who you want to be. Values are subject to change. So over the course of your life, your values might change, and that's perfectly fine, depending on who you're around, where you are, what your career is. If you switch careers, your values might change. Types of values. Material, aesthetic, intrinsic, extrinsic, universal, and moral. We will discuss each of the values individually on the upcoming slides. The first type of value is a material value. Some people think that happiness comes from things, materials. Material values reflect the possessions that we own, the things that we want to spend our money on. Some examples of material values are clothing, your phone, your shoes, your purses, etc. I'd recommend that in your notes, you write down some of the material things that you value. Aesthetic values. These are values that reflect your feelings about what has beauty in nature and in life. They reveal appreciation for the way things look, sound, feel, taste, and smell. They are related to your senses most of the time. The need to experience beauty is part of aesthetic values. Remember, everybody thinks beauty is something different. Some examples are paintings, a sunset, a concert, eating at your favorite restaurant, and once again, I would recommend writing down some aesthetic values that you have in your notes. The next value is an intrinsic value. This is something that you personally value that someone else may not. So this is something that might only be important to one person. So an example would be an antique car is valued for its beauty. A friend has an intrinsic value because his or her character and their personality. Your grandma's jewelry might have value to you because she gave it to you. But your grandma's jewelry might not mean anything to me because one, she's not my grandma, and two, she didn't give me the jewelry. So what we value intrinsically really does depend on the person. So once again, write down some intrinsic values that you have in your notes. Another value is extrinsic value. So intrinsic is like inside and extrinsic is out of you. Some values are important because they help us gain other values or other desired results. These are extrinsic values. So for example, you can value one friend because they can help you become popular. And I know that seems really shallow, but it is an extrinsic value. Another example would be that you value an antique car from the previous slide because of its monetary value as opposed to its beauty or its function. So once again, in your notes, write down an extrinsic value that you have. Universal values. Universal values are values on which all or most people agree, such as equality, justice, worldwide brotherhood, respect of self and others. These are group-specific values that can differ from state to state, region to region, or country to country. So an example, people in the US and Europeans both value time. People in the US value time because we say time is money. We're always in a hurry to make money. Whereas Europeans value time because they want to spend it with other people. So we both value time, just in different ways. Moral values are the last type of values that we will discuss. A moral value is something that you will or will not do because you think it is right or you think it is wrong. These are thoughts or codes by which we live. So an example, cheating. If I think cheating is wrong, I'm not going to let a friend use my homework to cheat. I'm also not going to use other people's homework so that I can cheat. In your notes, I want you to look at your values. So of the 6 types of values, which is the most important to you or why? So just list what it is and then describe why it is the most important of the 6 to you. Also, write down which is the least important to you and why. It's okay to have a tie between some of them. Typically, one will stand out as being the most important and one will stand out as being the least important. So just make sure that you can differentiate between most important value and least important value in your notes, whether that's highlighting it as you go or just writing a separate paragraph at the end.